Bomba-data, 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 bomba-data,
Hey,
Welcome, everybody. How we
welcome.
doing? How we
Well,
doing?
how we doing? Happy trails is how we doing. That's
That's how we
right.
doing. All right. We're
That's
happy
right, guys.
trailing.
Hey, Matt Bynum, Greenville, South Carolina. My court,
Blaine McLaughlin, Robbins, Iowa, where it's getting
Robbins,
cold.
Iowa.
It's getting chilly.
You a little chilly?
A little chilly.
You know what they say? Chilly today, hot tamale.
No, I didn't know they said that.
Yeah, but then you got to figure out who's they.
Who says that?
Exactly. They do.
They.
The infamous they.
There's a lot of theys out there.
There's
They
a
know
lot.
this. They did that. They
Yep.
recommend this.
There's a lot of those
Yikes.
effers out there. A lot of those effers.
Yeah. Right on.
Sure.
Cool. Well, today we got let's see. We got a little we're still working on the property analyzer. This is a lot of stuff on this thing. So
Page 3, right?
we're going on page 3. So we'll summarize page 3 and talk about that. And then probably we'll do a whole review on a next podcast where we'll just kind of go through everything, up your knowledge on that and summarize it all. So there we are, page 3. You ready?
Yeah, I'm
All
ready.
right.
You ready?
I'm gonna share my screen.
Take us away, brother.
We have a little trouble with screen sharing on this, and it doesn't seem to it says it shows me that it's sharing the screen, but it leaves the left side a little blank. But I mean, it looks like it's fine to me, so we're just gonna roll with it. And then when it seems like when we get the YouTube Zoom thing going, it cuts off some of the categories. So I shifted some things around. Hopefully this will work. I don't know.
Interesting, because I can see the whole thing here.
I know. So obviously, Matt, it's not our issue.
Do you think it's the cold? Do you think it's the cold?
We know what we're doing.
You think it's cold in Robbins, Iowa?
Yeah, well, the problem is it's not cold enough because it's supposed to rain on Christmas Eve. Rain. That's terrible. We need snow. We need a little snow.
I see at the top of your screen, though, it says freeze panes and freeze top row and freeze first column.
Oh, maybe so you're thinking that's going to freeze everything?
I don't know.
And it'll turn into snow?
What happens if you unfreeze it?
Well, what happened to my background, too? Gosh, I tell you what.
Maybe it's frozen.
I'm gonna choose my virtual background. Look at this.
How cold is it there?
How about that?
Oh, hey!
Now we're talking. Happy trails. It's like around 40.
Oh, that's not that cold.
For the high, down to 20 at night.
It was 30, I think, when we got up this morning here in
well, that's pretty chilly.
Wonderful Simpsonville, South Carolina.
Wow. All right.
Yes.
Okay.
The other day I cold plunged. It was 30 degrees outside and 35 in the tub.
Man, so it must have felt warm.
It felt fabulous.
It was like, dang, this is nice and toasty.
Yeah, I was like, wow, this is good. I mean, this is so good.
Oh,
man. But you know what? We just keep hacking. We're hacking.
Yeah, sure.
Biohacking.
That's what that is.
Biohacking.
Getting your bio all hacked up.
Get my bio on.
Well,
all right. Let's party, dude. Let's run it.
So we're gonna go over this and in page 3. Let's just kind of roll through here. Page 1, we had all the property data on here, the main stuff, asking price, rents you're going to be getting, loan information. Page 2, we had a ton of stuff go on here, rent increases, other income you can put in here, and it starts to give you some numbers that you need to look at, and then but the last thing is the expenses. So obviously your numbers and your predictions can't be very accurate unless you know what stuff's going to cost, right?
Right.
I mean, kind of makes sense. So the NOI, net operating income, is your your rent, your other income added together minus all your expenses, excluding your mortgage payment. So we need to know our expenses, and so this has a this analyzer has a bunch of different expense categories over here on the left. Hopefully you guys can see them. We have contract services, we have utilities, repair and maintenance, and make ready. Talk about that in a little bit. Payroll, general admin, marketing, insurance, property taxes, kind of important there. Property management fee. We got professional services, franchise tax. We'll talk about that too. And other. You can't have a complete list, Matt, without having other
on
on
well,
there.
yeah. That's
Because
like they.
Other.
Yeah.
It's kind of like they. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a lot like they.
Sort of. Yeah.
Okay,
So
you'll catch up. You'll catch up. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Yep. So I took the OM, or actually I took the T12, which is the income expense for the last 12 months, and plugged
The
in
trailing 12.
trailing 12, plugged in these numbers. All right. And again, not all your trailing 12s have these exact categories. So sometimes you have to combine things, or, put them in a little different category. And that's okay. Again, we're trying to get all our expenses in here. And again, you can kind of make that up as you go. But these are, in general, you'll have a lot of these. I mean, there's typically a utilities. All right. As you see, that includes electricity, water, natural gas, garbage, recycling, stuff like that. And so on this expense report, the T12, trailing 12 of this property, they had $11,639 listed for the year. And so I put in $11,639. Make sense?
Yep.
I mean, just, yeah. So, repair and maintenance. Okay. Repairs can vary across properties depending on what kind of property, what class are you in? A-class properties typically are fairly new. So you're probably not going to have as much repair cost on a 2-year-old property as you are on a 40-year-old property. Right? So, we come over here to the right, and our repairs were $72,416, which accounts to $529 per door. And they give you a general range of $400 to $800 per door. Well, and that's cool. So we're kind of right in the middle there. But like I said, if you're an A-class property, you're going to be probably well below that. So I think this analyzer is set up for B and C type properties where you're doing value add, and so you're going to have a few more repairs going on. But that's what we got. And then this make ready thing, that was like, it took me a while. They talked about this, so I think in our first conference, and they're like, make ready, and I'm like, what is that? I have no idea what that is. Well, that's basically the cost it takes to like turn around a unit. So if somebody moves out, there's always the rehab, which is the CapEx that we talked about if you're upgrading. But if you're not upgrading, you still have to go in there and you have to clean the carpets, clean the floors, polish things up, maybe touch up a little paint here and there. Any minor repairs, if a cabinet door is, got a bad hinge or something, that kind of stuff before the next person can move in. So those are all the what are called make ready expenses in the category. So they hook these together in this analyzer. A lot of times I'll see these as separate on a T12. So again, I added, I think we were about half and half. It might have been like 40,000 for repair and maintenance and 30-ish for the make ready. And I just added them together and put them in here. So we got payroll taxes. Payroll, which includes payroll taxes. Okay. And that's just you're paying the people who run the place, right? I mean, you got to have people sitting at the desk and signing leases and taking maintenance requests and that kind of stuff. And so the next one says general and admin. Okay. And the payroll was 149,439 for the year. And so, again, that sounds like that includes a couple full-time people. This is what 137 units. So they probably have a full-time maintenance guy. The repair and maintenance fee typically does not include the salary for the maintenance people. It includes all the stuff you need, the drywall, whatever else that you need to fix stuff, the new toilet that is broken. But the payroll typically includes the salary for typically if you have 137 units, you're going to have a full-time guy on staff, and maybe a full-time and a part-timer. But I think that's isn't it like around 100-ish units you start getting full-time people, Matt, or do you know?
Yeah, I think that's what they've said all along, is somewhere around 100 units.
Yeah, 80 to 100, maybe getting full-time. That's why when we were learning about this, they're like, hey, don't get your 22 unit thing. It's much easier to do 80 and above. And I think that's because if you do 22 units, you're not hiring full-time people to run the place, because it's not, it doesn't pencil out. I mean, it costs too much. So you have to have people come in and do part-time here, part-time there. And they're like, it's just easier if you can have, people on site all the time, just working your property. So hope that makes sense to you guys. And then we got general admin. Now, this expense in general admin is 405,553. And I'm like, that is expensive. What is going on there? And they have 300 and some thousand of that is HOA fees. I have no idea what that's for. What the hell? Why are we paying HOA fees? I mean, I don't know who that's to or where that goes. So, I mean, that's a huge expense. And so that, again, when you're in this, I don't know. Have you seen that before, Matt?
Only in one other deal that you and I looked at, and we turned our heads from it pretty quick.
Yeah,
remember?
that was the one in Clemson, right?
Yeah.
And we're like,
I understand what an HOA fee would be, but for a complex, I can't understand what it would be.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
That just seems like a way to take money out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So
something's funky in it.
That's called, digging deep into your research. When you see that, you're like, whoa.
You want to know what it is? Ask a question.
Better figure that out. Yep. Marketing. They had $20,105 for marketing, and that's basically running your internet. I think most marketing is basically internet based nowadays, and so that's that. Insurance, 44,900 for these, comes to $328 a door. That is not very much. We were always, when we started a couple of years ago, they said between $200 and $400 a door is pretty solid. And so this is 328 when you do the math here per door. You're like, oh, you're right on. Well, if you're not following trends and you're not up on your stuff, you may think, okay, that sounds good, but that's not. Insurance rates have skyrocketed in almost everywhere but Phoenix and Tucson, Arizona. In Florida, they're going nuts because all the hurricanes. Texas is kind of the same thing. You got a lot of hurricanes on the coast, tornadoes. They've had ice storms down there. And so insurance rates have really, really gone up. So I would say you're probably looking at $600 to $800 a door, something like that. But the good thing is when you, if you're serious about this stuff, you can contact insurance people and go, hey, here's my property. Here's what it's like. What are you insured for? And they'll tell you. And so you can get pretty solid quotes. So again, when you get deep into these properties and you're really serious about putting an offer in, you can get a quote from the insurance. And so you know really what it's going to be. And typically I've never asked anybody this, but these guys have insurance set up through a certain company. I don't know why I suppose you could go, hey, what company you using? I'll use them too. If they're doing 44,000 for this, maybe they'll give me, a small increase and they'll give it to me. And maybe they will. I don't know. Most people seem to have their own insurance peeps that they work with, that they like to hang with and help them out. So, we'll see. That's something you got to ask about. Property taxes, 365,960 for this. Typically, property taxes are based on the valuation of the property. And I do know in Texas, that changes upon sale of the property. So when you sell something for a lot more than what you bought it for, the Texas people will be like, hey, we better crank up those property taxes, right? Yeah. Now, again, in Arizona, that's not the case. They don't. So different states have different rules. And so in Arizona, they just evaluate it every year and it goes up with inflation or something. I don't know. So property taxes in Arizona are very low. And it doesn't matter what you sell the place for. But in Texas and Florida, I believe, they're, it's upon the sale. They reassess everything. And so you got to keep that in mind. That's and there are companies out there that will do that for you. You'd be like, hey, I'm looking at putting a bid in for this. What are my taxes going to be? And depending on the state and the county that you're in and what's all going on, they can give you a guesstimation on what the property tax is going to be within, I don't know, probably 5 or 10%. So yeah, there's actually companies that do that. That sounds like something Matt would do.
Yeah.
On the side. Yeah, because he likes those numbers.
Love them.
Okay, cool. Property management fee. That's the management company that is actually, they typically charge about 3 to 4% ish of the rent collected. I think there's different ways they charge. What's VDO? Is that do you recall what VDO's property management fee is?
I think it's higher than that. I think, they say 3 to 8%. I'm thinking 3% is pretty low, especially if they're trying to raise rent values and things like that. So you're really going to end up paying a little bit more for those people. So I think we're kind of more on the 6 to 8%.
Yeah. I know most of those are tied to the amount of rent that is collected though. So, if they don't sit around, don't do anything, and rents go down, they're not getting paid as much. So it gives them incentive to, nip in the bud, get going.
Well, incentive is a interesting word.
Right.
What does that mean to the person on the other end? You know what I mean? So we at BDO, we've had to do a couple different things to make sure that our collections are up and our vacancies are down. And right now it seems to be working. It's actually working pretty well, as worked for the last couple of months.
Because we're in the third company in the year.
Yeah. So that was my point. Is we're the third company. So we were probably paying somewhere in the 4% down before, and it wasn't working for us. So we've got to do something to get all that changed. And I believe we're in the 6. I could be wrong, but they just came out with new numbers for the month. I just got that in the email 2 days ago. So
highly unlikely that you're wrong, Matt.
Yeah,
I would bet if we did a poll, that people would say Matt's not wrong.
Probably, yeah. I think
except me.
It's rare.
It's
rare.
I might say that.
It's rare that happens. But
and then we got professional services. That's just kind of, I think that's kind of an other thing, right? We got professional services down here, and if you look, this is legal expenses, accounting, and other, and we got contract services up here. There was nothing on the T12 in contract services, and that's, when I think of that, it's like keeping the landscape up, trimming the bushes, snow removal here in Iowa, maybe not so much in Texas, and stuff like that. But those are all just kind of a lump sum of different things that people need. Now, the professional services, I thought some of this legal and accounting services, I thought that was non-operating expense, but I don't know. So anyway, I put it in there because it is an expense. So we got to have that in there. Franchise tax. I think franchise tax is a Texas thing only, as far as I know. And it's if the property is valued at a certain amount or more. But
Who's
franchise
got
tax,
your money?
there you go. That's a good icebreaker there. Franchise tax is if your property is, say, over $15 million, Texas will charge you a certain amount of tax on that. If it's under that value, they don't charge you anything. So I think it's just kind of a big group taxes. They're like, hey, we can get some money, we can get some more money on this from people if we call this thing a franchise tax and make up rules, tax you more. But anyway, so all those numbers add up to the total operating expense. And when I put those in, it should add up to the total expense on the T12, or very, very close. So, that's where they were on their, and this is coming right off their last year of running this stuff. Now, again, things you gotta take into consideration. Some of the payroll. If payroll seems really low, who's doing it? I mean, maybe if it's a mom and pop group, if it's somebody who's owned it for 30 years, maybe they're doing a lot of the repairs themselves. I mean, maybe that's been their life, right? They've owned this apartment complex and they're like, hey, I just do all the repairs myself. So there's no expense in there. They don't record anything because they don't charge themselves. So you gotta be careful about that, because this actually, at 149 seems pretty reasonable. But I was looking at, what was that one property I was looking at? I think it was in Texas, and it was 28 units. And I thought, well, I'll just glance at this for fun. And they had like zero expenses on repair, maintenance, and payroll. And I'm like, okay, if I want to go down there and run this place myself and do all the repairs, or maybe get Javi to do them, well, Javi still charge me. But anyway, that's again, you got to kind of look at these numbers and go, what's going on? Why is this low? Why is this high? And So, but anyway, we got our total operating expense. Over to the next category to the right, the buyer pro forma. We all know what pro forma is, right? Matt, what does pro forma mean?
Yeah, pro forma is the guesstimate of what's going to happen.
There you go.
That's pro forma.
Whether it's
real,
the rents you're going to get or the expenses you're going to
get. It's what we portray they're going to be, which could be inflated sometimes.
Maybe. You don't know.
Maybe so.
So if you got a good, if you're going through the operating memorandum and somebody's like trying to get you to invest, they'll have all these pro forma numbers in here.
Yeah.
And they'll, for this one, the utilities, I thought they're probably not going to change much. So I just copied the number over. Some people will copy it over and add 2% because of inflation. You could do that too. Repair and maintenance, make ready. Again, depending on what we're doing, if we're rehabbing a whole bunch of places, or maybe this place is never been rehabbed, or it's highly, maybe it's out of the 137 units, it's 100 of them have been redone. And so you're like, well, maintenance should be less than last year because they redid 100 units. But so again, you got to kind of figure that out. I copied that over. I copied the payroll over because I think that's a pretty good number. Again, if you have good people, maybe you can lower the payroll number. That's one area I've seen that has gone down. General and admin, this HOA fee, no idea what that is. Figure that out. Marketing, typically, I think we're going to market more than everybody else. So I doubled the marketing expense just because that's kind of what you see. I mean, you got a new property, you're going to have to, you want it to get the name out. You want to let people know, hey, we got a new owners here and we are awesome. And you should come live here because we'll take good care of you. And so that takes marketing. And Matt and I have done a lot of marketing in our dental offices over the years. So I think we both understand the benefits to marketing your what you have to offer. Insurance, I said you can get insurance quotes. Again, I doubled the insurance almost. I went from 45,000 up to 80. again, and if I'm doing this for real, I'm talking to insurance companies and going, hey, what can you insure this for? And they'll give me a pretty darn close quote. Property taxes, I got this number off. It went from 365 to 458. Pretty solid increase there. And that number was off. I think they gave me a tax projection. So the people who were putting this together got the tax quote saying, hey, if you purchase it for this much, go back to page 1, 18 million. And we do our calculations, it's going to turn out to be that much. And it's there. It's just not, up here in the top left, it says property tax rate 2.85 and 85% of purchase price. And I mean, there's just like, it's so weird how they figured this crap out. And sometimes this 85% is actually 70%, and sometimes it's 90. So, I mean, a lot of that crap you don't know until you buy the place and the city comes in or the county comes in and goes, hey, this is what we're doing. And then, of course, you go into your professional service fees and you get your people to fight your property tax bill, because it's usually high. And a lot of times there's professionals that are out there that'll you can hire to go say, hey, can you lower my property taxes? And they're like, yeah, we do it all the time. And so maybe this 458 comes to be 430, and you save yourself $25,000 or whatever by paying these professional services a couple grand. So that's nice. Again, that's out there. But I got this off a tax quote from something in the OM that they sent. The property management fee, that is going to increase. You hope so, because you hope your rents increase, right? I mean, that's the point of the whole thing, is getting better rents, increasing the value of the place for people, so people like to live there and want to live there. And so that typically is going to go up some too. But that gave me a round number here, a guesstimation, because it's a pro forma, and it's about $150,000. So maybe 10-12% more than the prior year. And again, how accurate are these? They're pro forma, so they're just guesses, and we just do our best to find the right numbers. And I looking at and it's never going to be super accurate, right? It's just the way things roll. You just don't know. So we do our best to guesstimate those and get all our expenses added up. And once we have these expenses all put in here, we go back to the property analyzer. It'll populate them. Total expenses right here, and it'll populate. See, there's my 1,292,000 expenses right there. So it populates it for you here, takes it away from your income, and and then now we're getting some pretty accurate or some good guesstimation numbers on what's going on here for the first few years of this property and what we can expect. What do you got to add to the expense categories here, Matt? Anything? I'm doing a lot of talking.
Yeah, you're doing good though.
Well, I try.
I don't think expense wise, I think we covered that in, what was that, page 2?
Yeah, I mean, you
Last
have
time,
these,
I don't think we have anything to add beyond
you
that.
have like these standard expenses, and then there's the CapEx expenses, and remember, CapEx is the capital expenditures, and that's your game plan, that's your business plan money that you're spending to improve the property and make it better. Sometimes they're requirements by the lender, sometimes they're not, right?
Yeah,
sometimes it's
not.
just like, this is what we want to do to make this place better, more valuable. And so those are different than all these expenses. These are just what it takes to run the place. Yep. And typically, CapEx expenses, if you guys recall, they're either put into the loan initially, or they're part of your capital raise when you go to purchase the property. So There you go. There's our expense summary. Next time on Happy Trails, we will roll this all together. We'll go through the first 3 pages, come up with our numbers. I'll make sure these are all accurate, and we'll go over, kind of a little more detail page by page. Now that we have everything plugged in,
Now,
we can get some ideas of our projections and whether this is something we're going to need to move forward on, or whether it's like, we gave it a nice run. Probably not, though.
or we read it and go, that was a bunch of BS.
Right. Yeah.
You know, a lot of overinflation, a lot of things. I think one of the things that people will always put in their OM is they're going to tell you that they're really conservative with their numbers. That's the catchphrase, right? We were very conservative with our numbers, and that's supposed to mean to you as the potential buyer or investor is, hey, we were so conservative that I think on the other end of it, it's going to be much more than that in the return for you.
Right.
Well, when you start plugging in these numbers, you're going to start seeing, have they been conservative or not? Like Blaine said in this first thing, this HOA fee, I want to know what the hell that is. What makes that? Because if the average is for general admin miscellaneous is anywhere from $200 to $400 a door, right?
Yeah.
And this is now $2,960 per door. That's what is that? 5 times?
That's called a
5,
red
6,
flag.
7.
Red
Yes.
flag.
That's 7.5 times what it should be. So I want to know why. What is that? So I think there's a hidden fee in here for the people selling the property. I think if you were to dig at that, you're going to find that's a fee that's being recuperated on the sale of this to those that hold the investment property. That'd be my guess.
Well, your guess is as good as mine.
So I guess we'll maybe find that out. If not, we'll expose kind of that would be the point of contention that would take us out of the deal or not in the deal.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Right here. Here's the T12 I'm looking at, and they got administrative fees would include postage, telephone, office supplies, internet connection, dues, answering service, professional legal fees, and HOA dues. And out of the 400, what's that listed at? 405,000. 390,000 of it is HOA dues.
Yeah.
I mean, that's basically almost all of it.
There's something in there. that for me, flags are already going up.
Yeah.
There's
like,
yellow flags. Yellow flags are going up everywhere. Hey,
all over. Yeah. Just like football.
They're all over
games.
the field.
Man.
Like you're watching the game and all of a sudden there's a flag that flies from 30 yards behind and lands. You're like, what? That's what I'm seeing right now.
Right on.
Yellow debris all over the field.
Debris. Yeah.
Debris.
So we have to bring out the red flag, and we're like, hey, I want to challenge this call.
Yep.
And we're throwing the red flag right now.
I'd be throwing the red flag.
Yep. Right on. Okay.
Sure.
There you go. There's some expenses information on Happy Trails, and
another stellar job by Blaine in the presentation of the analyzer.
Right on.
As I like to call it, the analyzer.
I'm sure you do.
Yes.
Yes. Because Matt will analyze this.
Yes.
All day.
I'm very much an analyzer. I take it all the way to the nth degree.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yep. Okay. Well, thanks again for joining us. And if you just watching this one and you're like, what happened to the other 2 pages? There are prior 2 podcasts. So if you haven't seen those, make sure you go check them out. Share it with your friends. Let people know. We're trying to help people. Just trying to help people.
That's it.
We got some good market updates coming soon too. I was listening to watching some webinars and dealing and looking at some stuff and reading some articles and so we need to do a market update kind of thing again pretty soon, maybe after we summarize next time.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Right on.
Because we're end of the year, it's perfect time to discuss it.
It is the end of the year. If you guys didn't know, it's mid-December.
Wow.
There you go.
Wow.
And if you did, yeah, I mean, now you know. That's how we roll.
And if
All
you
year
didn't know
long.
that, you have bigger problems.
Yeah, true. True. All right. Go take care of those.
Hey.
Happy trails, everybody.
Happy trails, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Bum